Everybody good and happy? All good? Appreciate you guys.
With your heels.
All right, all of you ready for us to begin? Looks like we're good. All right, thank you so much for being here today. This is an exciting day for a lot of reasons for us. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Stephen Murrett. I'm the Regional Executive Director of Mothers Against Drunk Driving for South Carolina and North Carolina. We're excited to be here with a lot of our great traffic safety partners, both at the state level and a lot of officers who do great work across the state. But our state partners, Department of Probation, Parole and Pardon Services, and the Department of Public Safety. We wanted to spend this time today speaking with you because Sunday is an exciting day. When our state's ignition interlock law will finally go to the stronger version that we've wanted for so long. Starting Sunday, it will apply to all convicted DUI offenders instead of just some of the first-time offenders, and that difference is huge when it comes to protecting public safety and saving lives. Some of you know that we refer to our ignition interlock law as Emma's Law, named after precious Emma, who was killed on New Year's Day 2012 in Lexington. David and Karen Longstreet are here. It's a crash that really affected the whole state. It affected me. I went through that intersection 45 minutes after that crash. My sister-in-law went through that intersection 10 minutes after that crash. It just really goes to show it could be anybody. Unfortunately, it was the Longstreets who just were, in that place at a terrible time when a repeat drunk driver came through. And quite possibly, if we had had a law like this earlier, he would have had an ignition interlock device on his car and perhaps would not have been in a position to cause that sort of terrible tragedy. So but this is exciting because for the first time in 9 years, we can tell the people of South Carolina our DUI laws are about to get tougher. Think even harder about the decisions that you make before getting the wheel after doing anything that will impair your driving. And again, it's been a long time coming for us to be able to say that. MADD and many other traffic safety partners pushed for this for 5 years. And we pushed so hard for one very important reason. Ignition interlock devices work and they save lives. We were the 35th state to pass an all-offender ignition interlock law, so there was plenty of research to tell us just how effective this would be. States have seen a 16% reduction on average in drunk driving deaths when they have a law this strong. We certainly need that. The latest numbers just came out for 2022 just a few weeks ago. Things got worse for drunk driving in South Carolina when we almost thought it couldn't get worse. The fifth highest total of drunk driving deaths in the nation, and we're 23rd in population. 474 lives lost, and every single one of them was preventable. But again, interlock laws might be the one thing to start putting us in the direction to turn those numbers around. Maybe my favorite statistic about ignition interlock devices, nationwide since 2006, ignition interlock devices have blocked 4.8 million drunk driving trips. Let me say that again. 4.8 million times somebody with a BAC of 0.08 or higher tried to get behind the wheel of a car with an interlock, blew in it, and it would not allow them to turn the key. Just imagine if a fraction of those crashes would have turned into some sort of a tragedy, just so to think about how many lives and injuries have been prevented. Unfortunately, not enough of those have come from South Carolina because we didn't have the strongest version of an interlock law. Starting Sunday, we will, and we're excited about that. Those terrible numbers that I mentioned, I should mention, are in spite of the outstanding efforts that so many people are doing from our state agencies, from an education and awareness perspective, and certainly from law enforcement officers all across the state doing the absolute best that they can with the resources they have, working under a very complicated and difficult DUI statute. We could do a whole nother press conference just on all the reasons why our conviction rates are too low and why that endangered public safety. But we're here to celebrate. So before I turn it over to a few other folks to speak, I do just want to give some proper thanks to those who really made sure that this law was passed. The bill sponsor for this and champion for the whole 5 years we pushed for this was Senator Brad Hutto. We truly appreciate his support for this. Some of the other legislators that played a key role: House Judiciary Chairman Weston Newton, House Criminal Law Subcommittee Chair Jeff Johnson, and House Speaker Merle Smith. And of course, we thank Governor McMaster for being in support of this the entire time and doing a ceremonial signing as well, which was a special moment to kind of cap this victory. So a lot of hard work went into getting this passed. But I've said a bit about statistics. Ultimately, this is about lives that are affected. This is about people and what drunk driving can do to families and communities. And I'm excited to have here today with us one of MADD's national ambassadors. She traveled with from Texas to be here with us today. One of, unfortunately, far too many people have been impacted by this preventable crime, but is doing their part to spread the word, let people know just how we can do better and why this is so truly damaging to families. So at this time, I want to welcome Priska Oshunton and let her share her story for a moment. Thank you, Priska.
Good afternoon. As mentioned, my name is Priska Oshunton, and I am a proud MADD National Ambassador. I actually kind of grew up with MADD. On March 9, 2007, my older brother, John Michael Patrick Jr., was killed by a drunk driver. It was the junior year of my spring break. I was 17 years old, 3 weeks after my 17th birthday. John Michael had just left our house. He was about to go have fun with his friends, going to the movies. I was actually packing to get ready to go to spring break with some of my friends. And then a knock on the door came that night. 2 officers showed up at our door and said, "Is this your son?" They had my brother's ID. And I just remember screaming and dropping to the floor. And then I remembered, but wait a minute, John Michael left our house with his girlfriend. His girlfriend was also killed in that crash. The offender had previous 3 DUIs, driving a suspended license in his mother's car, and he ran a red light. He claimed that he only had 2 beers, but yet his blood alcohol content was 3 times over the legal limit. Spring break is just a blur. I was 17, already getting ready for college, but then my life changed forever. See, I'm also a childhood cancer survivor. I thought, or my parents thought, or medical professionals thought that maybe I wouldn't be here today because of my cancer diagnosis, but I survived. Jamaica was my protector. But a grown man decided to make a decision, not a mistake, to get behind the wheel of a car, the wheel of a car, and drive drunk. So that spurred my life. I've been involved with MADD in so many levels, fighting for change, fighting for no more victims like myself, trying to understand how to move forward. This year marks 17 years since this crash. I have officially lived half of my life without my brother. So quite honestly, this year was another wave of grief. 17 years, why are the statistics rising? Why are there more drunk driving deaths? Why are we making a bigger impact? But guess what? With Emma's Law, we are making that impact here in South Carolina. We are making a difference, and this is only the beginning. We are going to keep striving for more. We're going to keep striving for no more victims, for no one else to feel the pain that we are feeling. So come Sunday, be prepared, because our voices aren't getting quieter. We're only getting louder. We are only pushing farther, and we are ready, because we are MADD, and we will continue to be MADD until there are no more victims. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I certainly couldn't say that any better than she did. So I will simply invite the next person to the podium. So our state's Ignition Interlock program is led by the fine team at the Department of Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services. And their expertise was essential to give the legislature all the information that was needed to feel confident that this expanded Ignition Interlock law would work and would be well handled. Representing that agency today is Acting Director Jody Gallman. Director Gallman is a Hartsville native with 42 years of experience in the criminal justice arena and extensive leadership roles at Triple P. And I'm glad to now welcome Director Gallman. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. In 2007, the Ignition Interlock Device Program was established. The intent and the purpose of the program was to protect the public by requiring those drivers that had alcohol-related driving offenses to have the device placed on their vehicle. In 2014, the program was overhauled and expanded by the passage of Emma's Law. This law made the participant participate in the program was mandatory for some offenses, but not all. So presently, anyone who has a blood alcohol content of 0.15, they were actually placed in the program. Anyone who had a variation between those times did not necessarily go into the program. But effective May 19th, we have good news. Those folks will now fall under the all-offender law. The all-offender law requires all drivers convicted of a DUI-related offense and their blood alcohol content to participate in the program. Now, what does that mean for us? There's new changes to the law, and I like to reference 3 major changes in the law to you. This now says anyone who is convicted of a DUI, the DUI, which is the driving under the influence, or driving with an unlawful alcohol concentration, which is DUAC, will be required to have this device placed on their vehicle. We are very excited about that because, as stated earlier, we can now prevent some folks from getting behind the wheel when they choose to drink and drive. Secondly, anyone who has an impaired content, which means that if they give their implied consent, you know in South Carolina, if you're driving on the road, that's an implied consent. So those folks that have that implied consent and they actually get stopped or they actually get questioned, they can actually have the right to an administrative hearing. And if there is a suspension from that administrative hearing, it is upheld and they have to have the device placed on their car. And the third persons that we like to talk about are the habitual traffic offenders. So those that have that alcohol-related offense, they will now be required to be in the program. The South Carolina Department of Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services, along with our partners, we are proud to administer this program. The department is hopeful that the all-offender law, with all the strengthening that comes with this law, will help prevent someone who makes that choice to get behind that wheel and try to drive in the community. It will now prevent them from doing this. The ignition interlock device is placed on the vehicle for a reason. Once it's placed on there, they do not get an opportunity to drive without blowing into the device. That prevents them from actually driving if they fail the test. Once they fail the test, we are notified. So this is that added step that prevents them from getting on the highways and driving and possibly hurting or injuring someone else. We currently have 1,085 drivers on the program. So we anticipate that with the passing of the all offenders law, that this will grow. And we welcome that challenge because we want them off the streets. In addition, in 2002, the IID program was placed on vehicles and 2,800 engines was not started because they were not in a capacity that they should be behind the wheel. So again, we like to say this is exciting news for the all-offender law. And with our partners, we welcome this challenge, and we at Probation and Parole say thank you for giving us this opportunity to serve the citizens of South Carolina.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I didn't mention why we're here today, specifically in this location. So the other reason why today is such a special day for MADD is tonight we are holding our 3rd annual Law Enforcement Recognition Dinner, where we recognize the absolute best across the state who do wonderful work to prevent and enforce DUI laws, and it's truly, maybe our favorite day of the year. So we're excited about what's coming tonight. So it's fitting that we have a lot of great officers here today, and that next we hear from the head of the Department of Public Safety, Director Robert Woods. A 35-year law enforcement veteran, having served with the Charleston Police Department and then 33 years with the Highway Patrol. He is a fantastic traffic safety partner that we appreciate so much, and we're also glad to share that he was just reconfirmed by the Senate just a few days ago, so we know he'll be in this role making a difference for several more years. And at this time, we'll turn it over to Director Woods.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Stephen. And let me just say what a tremendous honor it is for me to take part in this event, and what a tremendous honor it is for me to work with MADD and the great support that you give law enforcement in South Carolina and nationally to stop drunk driving. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the work that you do. So thank you all so much. Let me say that over my 35 years in law enforcement, it's unfortunately been my experience that even our best efforts to convince the motoring public of the extreme dangers and tragic consequences of impaired driving, these efforts too often do fall short. Last year, for example, in South Carolina, we had over 5,300 impaired driving collisions, 367 lives that were lost, and 3,300 people who were injured as a result of DUI collisions. The really sad part about that is we all acknowledge, we all recognize, is that every one of these collisions, every one of these injuries, and every one of these deaths was preventable. The drivers just simply had to make the right choice to not drink and drive. But today we're optimistic that with the ignition interlock device law that takes effect on Sunday, we're going to see a big difference. We know that the law by itself will not solve the DUI problem, but we are confident that the addition of the ignition interlock requirement will add a much-needed deterrent as we continue combating impaired driving through our collective efforts of public education and law enforcement. So thank you again to MADD, thank you to Governor McMaster, and thank you to the General Assembly for passing this law, because it will save lives. Thank you all very much.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's the main things we wanted to cover. Folks are available for individual interviews afterwards if you'd like. The Longstreets are also willing to do that as well. But if there's any questions while we're all here together in one place, we'll also take that. I think between all of us, we've got the enforcement perspective, the advocacy, and the technical questions. I think we can just about handle anything you may have for us. But if there are any questions you want to take from the podium, we can do that now. Yes, sir.
Do you have an estimate about how many more people this will apply to now?
I will give that to Triple P for any estimate on how those numbers might change.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Childress, and I'm the director of the Ignition Interlock Device Program. We conservatively estimated that we will probably double our numbers of active participants. We're right around 1,200 individual drivers now. So we anticipate that probably another 1,200 to 1,500 drivers.
Since you're up there,
Okay.
that first answer, since the governor signed it last year, what have you all been doing in the last year to get this to this point being implemented?
Just more staffing, getting our staff prepared for the number of drivers that we anticipate, also getting our computer systems ready for that, and just getting the word out there. Doing a lot of presentations to our partner agencies with DAODAS, the commissions, just explaining how this new law will affect them, and just getting the information out there, because the more information we can get out, the better it will be. Well, in South Carolina, we require a camera. So to answer your question about someone else providing the test, we get to see who provides the test. So we're fortunate in South Carolina that we have the staff to review the logs that come in. And so when we see a violation, we have staff that are able to look at it and reconcile it to see if it's actually the restricted driver giving the sample or not. So that's one way we're able to do that. These devices are also, they come with circumvention things on it, whether it's the breath pattern. Each device is a little different. So they will each, if you're providing a sample, it has a different breath pattern. So there are circumvention things on the device to keep you from cheating on it.
How much is the cost to use?
It averages about $130 a month.
And is that a cost that the drivers themselves are paying?
Yes. No, it's the driver. It's that cost is paid by the driver, the required driver. Now we do have an indigency fund, so if there is someone who is truly indigent or can't afford it, they can make application. So not being able to afford it is not an excuse to not participate in the program.
So as far as how it works, if someone brings in, it's over 0.08 and the bar will start going, it's under 0.08 will start detecting, how does it work?
The set point is at 0.02. So if you have when an individual goes to start the ignition, it requires a test to be given. So once they give the test, If the test is below a .02, the engine is allowed to start. After that time, as long as the engine is running, it will require periodic test. And there again, if it's over a .02, a violation is noted.
If the person who has this installed in their car and they, let's say they drive somebody else's car and they get caught, what would be the punishment?
There is a criminal penalty for driving a vehicle if you have the II restricted license. There is a criminal penalty for that. With the license, you're only able to drive a vehicle that has a properly functioning ID in it.
So you could drive someone else's car without an ID? Okay, got it.
Well, you could if it has the ID, but you have to provide the sample. The required driver can only drive a vehicle with an ID installed in it, a properly functioning. So even if the device is not functioning properly, you could be charged with driving one that's been tampered with. Yes.
And I apologize, but for a basic question, but is this an indefinite penalty, or is there a point at which, after 10 years or something, that exposes this kind of probation?
So it's actually, participation in the program is an automatic statutory consequence. So it's not a condition of supervision. It's not, even though we're with probation, parole, and pardon service, it's natural to assume that it's a condition of probation, but it is not. We're an administrative sanction that ties in with suspensions with DMV. But yes, for a first offense alcohol, it will be 6 months, and then it goes up.
Other questions for any of the folks here?
I just want to add that keep in mind that the program that we have is not meant to be punitive. It's meant to change behavior and to keep the public safe. So keep that in mind when you think about why do we have the program, what benefits come from the program. We all benefit from it. Because even if I'm placed on the program, I still have an opportunity to have my job. I still go about doing my business. But this team that we have, some of them are here, this team over here makes sure that they hold them accountable.
I appreciate that, Director Gallman. That's such a great point. Again, we always say we're mothers against drunk driving, not drunk drivers. We're against the action, not the people themselves. And so you're right. It does allow the public to be safe while also allowing them to do what they need to do with their life as well. So we're not trying to ruin people. We just want people to be safe on the roads, and these devices help. And to your point, I think many of us have met people who have been on the Interlock program who have been the first to say that it may have saved their own life, and that they were so grateful for that 6 months where it made the good decision for them when they perhaps were not ready until they got to the point where they were making better decisions about their own life. So it also protects the impaired driver as well.
Someone on Facebook Live has a question. He said for a multi-car owner, is it installed at each vehicle?
You're only required to have the device installed in the vehicle that you drive. It doesn't have to be in all vehicles that are registered to you, but only in the vehicle that you drive, and you're only allowed to drive that vehicle.
Anything else before we close from here? Again, just want to thank all of you for being here. Again, I hope we get that message to the public, because obviously we need to do things different in South Carolina. Sunday, the laws get tougher. It's never been a good idea, obviously, to drive impaired, but the consequences do get stronger, and we hope people take that into account and then they think about their decision making. Thanks for helping us get that word out. Appreciate it very much, and grab who you need to afterwards. Thanks so much. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you. I get to say hi to her. Good. Well, I did say hi to you. I did not say hi. I didn't get to say